so much? Why do you lie so much? I'm talking to you. What? Talk to me and I'll throw it down. You want to keep lying? This how I feel when somebody keep lying to somebody. Why did you lie? Tell me why you lied. Tell me why you lied. Why did you lie? Why you lie so much? Why do you lie so much? I'm talking to you. What? Talk to me and I...
Thank you to the state's attorney, to Detective M3rder. You did a great job. I truly appreciate it. To the Attorney General, it's been 3 months of pain and agony. I just want to say thank you, Lord. Thank you. Justice, please. I just want justice. I don't want to fight with nobody. I don't want to argue with nobody. I just want justice for my daughter. And I want peace in my family. This has been such a hard 3 months. It's been painful. It's been we've been torn apart. One of the leaders of our family, she was the baby, but she was the leader. The holidays are not holidays. I'm just grateful to God. And I am happy on today's verdict. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. And all I want is to be done, is justice to be done. I want justice so I can have a peace and mind. It won't bring her back, but it will be a little peace now. It feels like a big bundle just been lifted off my head and my heart. And I truly appreciate everyone that stood by me, rallied with me, supported me and my family, because it meant a lot. And I thank the world, because the world helped me and God. I thank y'all so much. I thank news people. I think the Facebook, social media. You guys was there for us. You guys stood there with us. You didn't let us down, and you still are there. And I thank y'all so much. I couldn't have did it without y'all. I couldn't have made it this far without y'all. You and you. I love you girls.
Thank you.
You hear me? And I thank y'all so much.
So we're happy with the verdict.
And we're happy with the verdict. Justice for me. 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 Justice for me.
I won't keep you too much longer. But just wondering, how is your grandson doing? I know, this obviously.
Carlos is doing great. He has always been doing great. He has a strong mother. He has a strong grandmother. He has strong aunties. He has strong uncles. He has a village. Carlos may be hurt for the rest of his life, but we make sure he see rainbows in his clouds. Okay? Nothing will ever change about that. There is nothing he needs that we cannot provide. He is perfectly well. He is happy. He is thriving. And even when he feels his lowest, we pull him out of it together like we do with each other. He a superstar like his mom, and he's going to show her better than he can tell her.
Yes.
My name is
Your name?
Frederica.
My name is Dreka. D-R-E-K-A. And I'm the sister they don't like to put in front of the camera, so I'm going to leave now.
Of the support, yes. We had to be moved from 102 to courtroom 700 because of the support that's behind us. We overfilled the courtroom, and the other people couldn't sit down to hear their cases, so it was transferred to 700.
Yes, all is love, all is support. We as one. We did it.
This is all family. We did
We
it.
paint the city
We
pink.
paint the city pink. Yes. Paint the city pink for you. We gonna paint the city pink for you.
My name is Tina McMiller. We have a TINAMCMILLER. We have a song that was made for Romeca. Can we do one little verse for y'all? Y'all ready?
Yes. Yes.
Come on, let's go. We gon' take the city pink for you. Roll, we gon' take the city pink for you. Me.
We got it. Yo, we did it.
Love y'all. Love y'all.
Birthday to you. It's my best birthday gift ever.
It took nearly 3 months for police to arrest Quadajah Johnson for shooting Romeca Meeks-Blackmon in the face. The victim's family waited, frustrated, as the killer walked free. Until yesterday. That morning, September 8th, 2024, Romeca had written her 6-year-old son a note and tucked it in his lunchbox. Happy Monday, son. This is a fresh start to this day, and you can start off strong. Always remain yourself. You're the coolest, smartest, and funniest kid I know. I love you so much. Love, Mommy. The note would go viral after her death. A heartbreaking final message from a mother who had no idea she had hours left to live. After dropping him off at school in Chicago's South Loop, Romeca was shot in the face following a physical altercation with Quadajah Johnson, a 31-year-old woman from Des Plaines. The motive? An ongoing conflict over a man they'd both been involved with. The evidence trail, the protective orders, the months of investigation, it all led to Johnson's arrest on December 4th, 2024. But why did it take so long? Subscribe to Crazy Crime Lures to find out. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was 31 years old, a nursing student working toward her dream career. She wasn't just going through the motions. She was actively building a future for herself and her son. According to friends, she was devoted, always there for her child, the kind of mother who never missed a moment. She lived in Chicago and was raising her 6-year-old son as a single mother. The boy's father, a man known on social media as Carlos Losas Way, was her ex-boyfriend. Their relationship had ended, but they remained connected through their child. Romeca had obtained a protective order against him, a legal boundary meant to keep her safe. That September morning, Romeca did what she did every Monday. She prepared her son for his first-grade class. She wrote him a note of encouragement, tucked it in his lunchbox, and shared a photo of it on social media. Happy Monday, son. This is a fresh start to this day, and you can start off strong. Always remain yourself. You're the coolest, smartest, and funniest kid I know. I love you so much. Love, Mommy. It was supposed to be just another Monday, just another school drop-off. But how do you know when an ordinary morning will become your last? According to her mother, Tina McMiller, Romeca was kind, loving, and sweet. She was supportive not just to her son, but to everyone in her life. She had dreams of becoming a nurse, helping others, making a difference. McMiller would later tell reporters that Romeca didn't deserve what happened to her. No one did. Romeca's son was her world. She showed up for him every single day. She encouraged him, built him up, reminded him he was special. That morning's note wasn't unusual. It was just who Romeca was as a mother. Consistent, present, loving. But outside the school that morning, someone else was waiting. Someone who had her own connection to Carlos Way. Someone who had filed protective orders claiming Romeca was a threat. Someone who was carrying a gun. Would Romeca have done anything differently if she'd known what was coming? Would she have stayed home? Called the police? Taken a different route? She had no reason to think September 8th, 2024 would be any different from any other day. She was wrong. Quadajah Johnson, who went by the nickname Holly, was 31 years old and living in Des Plaines, a suburb northwest of Chicago.
I would never be begging a nigga to be with me after he got a baby on the way. I would never be having matching t-shirts on with a nigga that got a baby on the way. I would never be trying to play family with a nigga that got a baby on the way. I would never want to be with a nigga that burnt me while I was pregnant. I would never want to be a bitch like that. I would never be telling random people that my baby daddy burnt me. I would never tell nobody no shit like that. I would never tell random people that my baby daddy cheated on me our whole relationship, my whole pregnancy, that he cheated on me. I would never, you could never get me to tell no shit like that to no random people that I don't fucking know. I would never want to have a job to where I'm wiping old people ass and giving old people showers and feeding them and shit. I would never want to have a job like that. I would never want to have a job that my car was in the shop for 2 years. I couldn't get it out. I would never want to have a job like that. I'm wiping ass and I ain't got no car still. I would never want no job like that. I would never want to be with a nigga that done got so many bitches pregnant during the time that I've known him. I would never want to be with a nigga like that. I would never want to be with a nigga that done play in my face for damn near 10 years. I would never want to be with a nigga like that. I'm getting me a new nigga ASAP. I would never have a big ass birthday party and have to catch a ride to my birthday party because I don't have a car. I would never call a bitch friend phone trying to vent to the bitch.
Like Romeca, she was a mother. She had a 6-month-old child, a baby she shared with Carlos Way, the same man who fathered Romeca's son. 2 women, 2 children, 1 man. It's a setup that rarely ends well. Johnson had been with Carlos Way while he was still connected to Romeca through their son. The exact timeline of their relationship isn't fully public, but what is clear is that by September 2024, Johnson and Way were together, raising their infant child. They were a couple, at least in the eyes of those around them. But Johnson wasn't just Carlos Way's current girlfriend. She was someone who felt threatened enough by Romeca to take legal action. According to court documents, Johnson filed a stalking no-contact order against Romeca. The order was granted in July 2024, but was never served, meaning Romeca was never officially notified of its existence. What was Johnson claiming in that protective order? She alleged that Romeca had threatened her through family members. Johnson had never met Romeca face-to-face before September 8th. They'd never had a direct confrontation. Yet Johnson felt the need to file legal paperwork claiming she was in danger. Was Johnson genuinely afraid? Or was she building a paper trail, creating documentation that could later support a self-defense claim if violence occurred? What could she have been planning? Johnson had something else going for her. She was legally armed. She possessed both a firearm owner's identification card and a concealed carry license in Illinois. She had the legal right to carry a firearm in public. The question is, why did she feel the need to bring a gun to a school zone on the morning of September 8th? Johnson would later claim she acted in self-defense. She would tell people at the scene over and over, "I have a license to carry," as if having legal permission to carry a weapon somehow justified using it to kill an unarmed woman in front of a school. But let's be clear about something. Having a concealed carry license doesn't give you the right to shoot someone just because you're arguing. Self-defense has legal standards. You have to be in imminent danger. You have to have no reasonable way to escape. You can't be the aggressor. Did Johnson meet those standards? Or did she bring a gun to a confrontation she knew was coming? On the morning of September 8th, Johnson got into a vehicle with Carlos Way and their 6-month-old baby. They drove to the area near Cermak Road and State Street, the same area where Romeca would be dropping off her son at school. They parked. They waited. Why were they there? What was the plan? According to prosecutors, Carlos Way had just parked nearby with Johnson and their infant when Romeca arrived after dropping off her son. This wasn't a chance encounter. This wasn't a random crossing of paths. They were there, in that location, at that time, when they knew Romeca would be there too. Johnson would later be described by witnesses as calm in the moments after the shooting. She stayed on her cell phone. She repeated her claim about having a concealed carry license. She showed no visible remorse. One witness would later say, no remorse she showed. So who was Quadajah Johnson? A scared woman defending herself? Or someone who brought a gun to a fight she anticipated and used it when she got the chance? Carlos Way was at the center of this tragedy, a man with 2 children by 2 different women, a man who, according to court records, had a protective order filed against him by Romeca, yet still showed up near her son's school on the morning of September 8th. Romeca and Carlos Way shared a 6-year-old son. Their relationship had ended, but the complications hadn't. Romeca had obtained a temporary protective order against Way, legally barring him from contact with her. Despite this, Way remained involved in his son's life, creating an ongoing connection that Romeca couldn't fully sever. Then there was Johnson. She and Way had a 6-month-old baby together. By all accounts, they were in an active relationship in September 2024. But their relationship existed in the shadow of Romeca, the mother of Way's older child, the woman who came before Johnson, the woman whose existence seemed to threaten Johnson enough to file legal paperwork. The tension between Romeca and Johnson had been building for months. Johnson filed her stalking no-contact order against Romeca in December 2023, with another filing as recently as the summer of 2024. In these filings, Johnson claimed Romeca had made threats against her through family members. But here's what's interesting. Johnson had never met Romeca face-to-face before September 8th. These 2 women, who both shared children with the same man, had never had a direct confrontation. Everything had been indirect, through family, through social media, through the legal system, until that Monday morning. The days leading up to September 8th are not fully documented in public records. We don't know if there were phone calls, text messages, or social media exchanges between any of the parties involved. We don't know if there were threats, warnings, or escalations that hinted at what was coming. What we do know is this: Romeca had a protective order against Carlos Way. Johnson had a protective order against Romeca. And despite these legal boundaries meant to keep people separated and safe, all 3 of them ended up in the same location at the same time on September 8th. Let's walk through that morning step by step. Romeca woke up early. She prepared her son for school. She wrote him an encouraging note, snapped a photo of it, and posted it to social media at some point that morning. This wasn't unusual for her. She was the kind of mother who celebrated her child, who made sure he knew he was loved and valued. At approximately 9:06 in the morning, Romeca dropped her 6-year-old son off at his school near Cermak Road and State Street in Chicago's South Loop neighborhood. She kissed him goodbye. She told him to have a great day. She watched him walk into the building, heading to his 1st-grade classroom. Then she got into her car. At that same time, Carlos Way was nearby. According to prosecutors, he had just parked his vehicle close to where Romeca's car was located. With him in the vehicle was Quadajah Johnson, and in the back seat was their 6-month-old baby. Why were they there? This is where things get murky. Was this a planned confrontation? Did Way know Romeca's school drop-off routine and deliberately position himself to intercept her? Or was this, as Johnson would later claim, an unexpected encounter? The evidence suggests it wasn't random. Way parked near the school. He and Johnson got out of the vehicle with their infant. They approached the area where Romeca's car was parked. According to court documents, Carlos Way, identified in legal paperwork as Witness 1, had placed his 6-month-old child into Johnson's car. Then Romeca appeared. According to prosecutors, the 2 women got into a verbal argument. We don't know who spoke first. We don't know what was said. But witnesses at the scene heard raised voices. Anger, confrontation. Carlos Way tried to intervene. Or did he? because what happened next complicates the narrative of him as peacemaker. According to prosecutors and witness statements, Carlos Way became physical with Romeca. He didn't separate the two women. He didn't stand between them. Instead, he allegedly put Romeca in a chokehold. Think about that for a moment. The father of Romeca's child, the man she had a protective order against, physically restrained her by the neck during a fight with his current girlfriend. Was he restraining Romeca to stop the fight? Or was he restraining her so Johnson could act? Witnesses reported seeing Romeca with her arms crossed, standing in place, while Way held her. She wasn't advancing. She wasn't attacking. She was being held in a chokehold by a man who outweighed her. And where was Johnson during this? According to prosecutors, Johnson walked away from the confrontation. She went back to her car, the vehicle where their 6-month-old baby had just been placed. She reached into the car, and she retrieved a gun. She had options in that moment. She could have gotten in the car and driven away. She could have called the police. She could have stayed in the vehicle with her baby and waited for help. She had a phone. She'd be on it minutes later, calm as anything. But that's not what she did. Johnson walked back toward Romeca. She was armed. Romeca was still being held by Carlos Way. And then Johnson made a choice that would leave a 6-year-old boy without his mother. What do you think went through Romeca's mind when she saw Johnson approaching with a gun? Did she have time to realize what was about to happen? Did she try to speak? Did she try to break free from Way's grip? Or did it happen too fast for her to process? The crime, Quadajah Johnson raised the gun. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was standing in front of her, still being held by Carlos Way. According to witness accounts, Romeca's arms were crossed. She wasn't advancing. She wasn't holding a weapon. She was being physically restrained by the father of her child, a man who, in that moment, became part of the setup for her execution. Johnson fired. The gunshot struck Romeca in the face. Witnesses would later describe the shot as point-blank range, fired from extremely close proximity. There was no warning, no chance for Romeca to defend herself, no opportunity to run, to fight back, to protect herself. But Johnson didn't stop at one shot. According to court documents and witness statements, Johnson shot Romeca multiple times. Prosecutor S. stated that Johnson fired several rounds. Some reports from the scene indicated 4 shots total. Witnesses described the rapid succession of gunfire, bang, 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 echoing through the morning air near a school where children had just been dropped off minutes earlier. One of those bullets struck Romeca in the face, specifically in the chin area. Another hit her in the thigh. The facial wound was catastrophic, the kind of injury that doesn't leave room for survival. Romeca collapsed to the ground next to a white sedan. Blood pooled on the pavement. Her body crumpled in the street in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, just feet from where parents had been dropping off their children moments before. What did Carlos Way do during the shooting? Witnesses reported that he was present throughout. He had restrained Romeca just seconds before Johnson opened fire. And after Romeca fell to the ground, bleeding and dying, what was Way's reaction? According to prosecutors, Johnson and Carlos Way fist-bumped. Let that sink in. A woman had just been shot multiple times in the face and thigh. She was lying on the ground, mortally wounded. And the father of her child, the man who had held her in a chokehold moments before, celebrated with a fist bump with the woman who pulled the trigger. How does someone fist bump after watching the mother of their child get executed in the street? Witnesses at the scene were horrified. One woman could be heard on video screaming at Johnson, "You shot somebody! What the fuck is wrong with you?" Another witness pointed at Johnson and yelled to police, "She shot her. She put the gun back in the car. Arrest her." And what was Johnson doing during all of this chaos? She was on her cell phone, calm, collected.
I'm licensed to carry.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, bitch.
You shot somebody, nigga. What the fuck wrong with you?
Calm down. Calm, go back down.
She put the gun in the car.
The gun, she shot her? Let's go right here. She shot her. She shot her. She put the gun in the car. She put the gun in the car. The gun in the car. Arrest her.
Romeca's body lying motionless. Johnson standing nearby, still on her phone, still claiming self-defense, still insisting she had a right to carry. Emergency responders arrived quickly. Paramedics worked on Romeca, trying to stabilize her injuries. The gunshot wound to her face was severe, the kind of injury that compromises airways, causes massive bleeding, and leaves little hope for survival. Romeca was rushed to Stroger Hospital of Cook County. Medical staff did everything they could, but the damage was too extensive. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was pronounced dead at the hospital. She was 31 years old, a nursing student, a devoted mother, a woman who had written her son a note that very morning telling him it was a fresh start. Her fresh start had lasted less than an hour. Chicago police arrived at the scene on the 2200 block of South State Street. They found witnesses still shaken by what they'd seen. They found cell phone video documenting the immediate aftermath. They found a gun that Johnson had placed back in her vehicle after the shooting. They found spent shell casings. They found blood evidence. They found Romeca's car still parked where she left it after dropping off her son. And they found Quadajah Johnson still at the scene, still claiming self-defense, still insisting she had done nothing wrong. Police took Johnson into custody. They brought her in for questioning. They began processing the scene, documenting evidence, interviewing witnesses. But here's where the story takes a turn that would enrage Romeca's family for months. Prosecutors looked at the evidence and decided not to file charges. Johnson was released. The woman who shot Romeca Meeks-Blackmon multiple times in the face in front of witnesses walked out of police custody without being charged with a crime. Why? Prosecutors at the Cook County State's Attorney's Office said there was insufficient evidence at that time to file charges. They claimed they needed more time to investigate. They said the case was complex, that Johnson's claim of self-defense needed to be thoroughly examined. But to Romeca's family, watching Johnson walk free felt like a slap in the face.
Please, y'all. Please stop sharing them poses of my sister, please. Please stop sharing that post of my baby sister on that ground, please. Get y'all, please. For my mama and for me and my siblings' sake. Please, y'all. My sister is gone. Yes, she is. Please.
Let Jenny be on cuss their ass out.
Please, I see y'all calling everything. I can't. I'm doing this to let y'all know I am very broken. Me and my family is broken. Please, y'all, please. Give us some time to respond, to talk to y'all, to anything. Please, y'all. My baby sister is gone. Please. The worst is pain ever. I just want y'all to understand. If y'all never understand in y'all life, I didn't know I had to do. Anybody lost a sibling, y'all, I don't know. I didn't know this hurt like this. Please, y'all, stop sharing that video of my sister. Put up good pictures of her. Y'all gonna post her. Put up good pictures of her. Please don't post her on that ground dead, please, y'all. I swear to God, it's the worst day of my life. I ain't looking for no sympathy, but I'm asking y'all to please. Jealousy is a motherfucker. A nigga ain't shit. But when a nigga think they can do you like that, you did wrong and you wanted to hurt somebody that you hurt. Nobody did anything to you. You hurt my sister and that girl. Please, I'm asking y'all, can y'all please just don't post that video of my baby sister laying in that ground. She is gone. Yes, she's gone, y'all. She's gone. She's gone. My mama is having the hardest time of her life and her siblings. Please, y'all. Please. Her family is mourning. This is a real big loss, y'all. Please. I will respond to y'all later. I can't right now. I'm so broken and tore up. Please, y'all. I'm trying to hold everybody at once and hold myself. Our kids, everything. Please, y'all, give us a time. Please, please. Please, 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 please. If I ever been strong in my life, y'all, I need every day. Pray, pray, pray for me, y'all.
Their daughter, their sister, their mother was dead, killed in broad daylight, and the woman who killed her was going home to her baby, sleeping in her own bed, living her life while Romeca lay in a morgue. Romeca's mother, Tina McMiller, was left to explain to her 6-year-old grandson why his mommy wasn't coming home. She was left to plan a funeral instead of celebrating the birthday her grandson had coming up. She was left to raise another child, her daughter's son, because someone decided a gun was the answer to a dispute over a man. That 6-year-old boy would never see his mother again. He'd never get another encouraging note in his lunchbox. He'd never hear her tell him he was the coolest, smartest, funniest kid she knew. His first day of first grade became the last day he ever saw his mother alive. And the woman who made that happen? She went home. How do you process that level of injustice? What could have been done differently to prevent this tragedy from unfolding? Let us know in the comments what you think. 3 detectives took over the investigation. They had a crime scene with physical evidence, multiple witnesses, cell phone video, and a suspect who admitted to pulling the trigger. On the surface, this seemed like an open and shut case, but it would be nearly 3 months before charges were filed. Why the delay? Detectives had to build a case strong enough to overcome Johnson's self-defense claim. In Illinois, self-defense is an affirmative defense, meaning the defendant admits to the action but argues it was justified. For self-defense to be valid under Illinois law, the person must reasonably believe they're in imminent danger of death or great bodily harm, and they must have no reasonable opportunity to escape. Johnson claimed both. She claimed Romeca threatened her. She claimed she was in danger. She claimed she had no choice but to shoot. But the evidence told a different story. Let's start with the physical evidence from the scene. Detectives recovered Johnson's firearm, the gun she'd placed back in her car after the shooting. They collected spent shell casings consistent with multiple shots fired. They documented blood spatter patterns showing where Romeca fell and where the shooting occurred. They photographed the vehicles involved, the positioning of the cars, the location relative to the school. They also had something invaluable: witnesses. Multiple bystanders saw the entire confrontation. They saw the verbal argument. They saw Carlos Way put Romeca in a chokehold. They saw Johnson walk back to her car, retrieve a gun, return to the scene, and fire multiple shots at close range. They saw Romeca fall. They saw Johnson and Way fist bump afterward, and they saw Johnson calmly stay at the scene, on her phone, showing no remorse. One witness told police that Way had Romeca in a headlock during the confrontation, physically restraining her while Johnson retrieved the weapon. This detail would become critical to prosecutors. If Romeca was being restrained by Way, she couldn't have posed a threat to Johnson. She couldn't have been advancing. She couldn't have been the aggressor. She was being held in place while Johnson armed herself.
Everybody lose. It's no win in a situation.
Kanisha works across the street and saw the aftermath of what happened. She doesn't know the victim, but is devastated for her family and friends and calls this preventable.
Violence is not the way to keep doing it. Nobody wins in a situation.
Detectives also had cell phone video recorded by witnesses in the immediate aftermath. While the shooting itself may not have been captured on video, the aftermath was documented in graphic detail. The video showed Romeca's body on the ground, blood visible on the pavement, and Johnson standing nearby on her phone, claiming she had a concealed carry license. The video also captured audio of witnesses confronting Johnson, people shouting at her, demanding to know why she shot someone. Johnson's repeated refrain, "I have a license to carry." But having a license doesn't justify killing someone. Detectives knew that. The question was, could they prove Johnson didn't act in self-defense? Investigators interviewed Carlos Way, identified in court documents as witness 1. What did he tell them about that morning? What was his role in the confrontation? Did he admit to restraining Romeca? Did he explain why he was at that location despite Romeca having a protective order against him? The details of Way's statement to police haven't been made fully public, but prosecutors would later use his account in court to establish the sequence of events. According to prosecutors, Way confirmed he had parked nearby with Johnson and their 6-month-old baby. He confirmed the two women got into a verbal argument, and he confirmed he intervened physically, though the prosecutors characterized his actions not as breaking up a fight, but as putting Romeca in a chokehold. Was Carlos Way charged with any crime for his role in Romeca's death? No. Despite allegedly restraining the victim while his girlfriend retrieved a weapon and shot her, Way faced no criminal charges. Why not? That's a question Romeca's family would ask repeatedly in the months to come. Detectives also examined the protective orders both women had filed. Johnson had filed a stalking no-contact order against Romeca, claiming threats through family members. But that order had never been served. Romeca never received official notification of it. And critically, Johnson had never met Romeca face-to-face before September 8th. How do you claim self-defense against someone you've never met? How do you claim imminent danger from someone who was standing still with her arms crossed while being held in a chokehold by her ex? Investigators also looked at Romeca's protective order against Carlos Way. She had legally documented her need to be kept away from him. Yet on the morning of September 8th, he showed up near her son's school, in an area he knew she'd be. Was that a violation of the protective order? Should he have been there at all? These questions pointed to premeditation. If Johnson and Way drove to that location, knowing Romeca would be there, if they positioned themselves to intercept her, if Way physically restrained her while Johnson armed herself, this wasn't self-defense. This was an ambush, but proving that in court would require solid evidence. And that's what detectives spent the next 3 months building. They pulled surveillance footage from the area. Schools typically have security cameras, as do many businesses in urban neighborhoods. Did any cameras capture the confrontation? Did they show Johnson and Way arriving and positioning themselves before Romeca appeared? They analyzed Johnson's phone records. Who had she been in contact with that morning? Were there text messages or calls with Carlos Way coordinating their location? Was there any digital evidence showing premeditation? They re-interviewed witnesses, locking down their statements. They had to make sure every detail was documented, every account was consistent, every piece of testimony could withstand cross-examination in court. And they had to wait for the forensics. Ballistics testing confirmed the bullets recovered from the scene and from Romeca's body came from Johnson's firearm. Autopsy results detailed the extent of Romeca's injuries, multiple gunshot wounds, including the fatal shot to her face. The Cook County Medical Examiner ruled Romeca's death a homicide. Manner of death, gunshot wounds. That classification is important. It means a medical professional examined the evidence and determined Romeca's death was caused by another person's actions, not by accident or natural causes. While detectives built their case, Johnson was free. She went back to Des Plaines. She returned to her life with Carlos Way and their baby. She wasn't wearing an ankle monitor. She wasn't checking in with authorities. She was simply released. Romeca's family was furious. They organized vigils. They held balloon releases. They spoke to media outlets demanding justice. Romeca's mother, Tina McMiller, stood at the exact spot where her daughter was killed and begged for someone to be held accountable. "Someone has to pay for this," McMiller told reporters. "It's not right. I don't care what you did." Community activists joined the family, calling for charges to be filed. They pointed out the video evidence, the witness statements, the fact that Johnson had walked back to her car to retrieve a weapon, demonstrating she had the opportunity to leave instead of shooting. Online petitions circulated. One petition titled "Urge Charges Against Quadajah Johnson for Romeca Meeks' Murder" gathered signatures from people demanding the Cook County State's Attorney's Office take action. The petition argued that the circumstances suggested premeditation. that Johnson had brought a gun to a school zone, that she'd filed protective orders to create a paper trail, that she'd set up a scenario where she could claim self-defense after committing murder. The pressure mounted. But weeks turned into months with no charges filed. Then on December 4th, nearly 3 months after Romeca's death, Chicago police made a move. Detectives arrived at Johnson's home in DePlain at the 9200 block of West Senate Drive. They arrested Quadajah Johnson and charged her with first-degree murder. The investigation had finally produced enough evidence for prosecutors to move forward. What changed? What new evidence emerged that convinced the state's attorney's office they could defeat a self-defense claim? The specific details that tipped the scale haven't been fully disclosed, but court documents and prosecutors' statements in subsequent hearings provide clues. They had witness testimony placing Carlos Way's actions as an aggressor, physically restraining Romeca. They had evidence showing Johnson left the immediate confrontation, went to her vehicle, armed herself, and returned. That sequence of events undercuts a claim of imminent danger. If you have time to walk away, retrieve a weapon, and return, you're not acting in the heat of a life-threatening moment. They also had Johnson's conduct after the shooting, the fist bump with Way and the calm demeanor, repeatedly insisting on her legal right to carry. This behavior painted a picture of premeditation, not desperate self-defense. First-degree murder in Illinois requires proof that the defendant intended to kill or cause great bodily harm, or knew their actions would cause death. It's the most serious homicide charge available. By charging Johnson with first-degree murder rather than a lesser charge like second-degree murder or manslaughter, prosecutors were signaling their belief that this was an intentional, premeditated killing, not a heat of passion act or a tragic accident. Johnson was taken into custody, she was booked, and this time she wouldn't be walking out the door. Legal proceedings, 23 Yorkso. Quadajah Johnson's first court appearance came the day after her arrest. On December 5th, she stood before a Cook County judge for her detention hearing, the proceeding that would determine whether she'd be held in jail pending trial or released on bond. Romeca's family packed the courtroom. They wore pink shirts in her memory. Dozens of supporters showed up. A visual reminder that Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was loved, that her life mattered, that her death demanded justice. Tina McMiller, Romeca's mother, sat in the gallery, waiting to hear what the judge would decide. She'd been waiting for this moment for 3 months. She told reporters outside the courthouse,
Thank you to the state's attorney, to Detective M3rder. You did a great job. I truly appreciate it. To the Attorney General. It's been 3 months of pain and agony. I just want to say thank you, Lord. Thank you. Justice, please. I just want justice. I don't want to fight with nobody. I don't want to argue with nobody. I just want justice for my daughter. And I want peace in my family. This has been such a hard 3 months. It's been painful. It's been terror. We've been torn apart. One of the leaders of our family. She was the baby, but she was the leader. The holidays are not holidays. I'm just grateful to God. And I am happy on today's verdict. I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. And all I want is to be done, is justice to be done. I want justice so I can have a peace and mind. It won't bring her back, but it will be a little peace now. It feels like a big bundle just been lifted off my head and my heart. And I truly appreciate everyone that stood by me, rallied with me, supported me and my family, because it meant a lot. And I thank the world, because the world helped me and God. I thank y'all so much. I thank news people. I think the Facebook, social media. You guys was there for us. You guys stood there with us. You didn't let us down, and you still are there. And I thank y'all so much. I couldn't have did it without y'all. I couldn't have made it this far without y'all. You and you. I love you girls. Thank you. You hear me? And I thank y'all so much.
So we're happy with the verdict.
And we're happy with the verdict. Justice for Meeks. 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 Justice for Meeks.
We won't keep you too much longer. But just wondering, how is your grandson doing? I know, this obviously.
Carlos is doing great. He has always been doing great. He has a strong mother. He has a strong grandmother. He has strong aunties. He has strong uncles. He has a village. Carlos may be hurt for the rest of his life, but we make sure he see rainbows in his clouds. Okay? Nothing will ever change about that. There is nothing he needs that we cannot provide. He is perfectly well. He is happy. He is thriving. And even when he feels his lowest, we pull him out of it together like we do with each other. He is a superstar like his mom, and he's going to show her better than he can tell her.
Yes. Can you hear her name? My name is
Your name?
Frederica.
My name is Dreka. D-R-E-K-A. And I'm the sister they don't like to put in front of the camera, so I'm going to leave now.
Of the support, yes. We had to be moved from 102 to courtroom 700 because of the support that's behind us. We overfilled the courtroom, and the other people couldn't sit down to hear their cases, so it was transferred to 700.
Yes, all is love, all is support. We as one. We did it. This is all family. We did it.
We paid the city fee.
We paid the city fee. Yes. We paid the city fee for you. We paid the city fee.
My name is Tina McMiller. We have a TINAMCMILLER. We have a song that was made for Romeca. Can we do one little verse for y'all? Y'all ready?
Yes. Yes.
Come on, let's go. We gon' save the pity pink for you. Roll, we gon' paint the city pink for you. Me.
We got it. Yo, we did it.
Love y'all.
Birthday to you. It's the best birthday gift ever.
Johnson appeared in court 7 weeks pregnant, expecting her second child with Carlos Way. The pregnancy added another layer of complexity to the case. Would her condition affect the judge's decision on detention? Would prosecutors consider it in their approach to the case? Prosecutors laid out their case for the judge. They presented the timeline of September 8th, walking through each step that led to Romeca's death. They described how Romeca dropped her son off at school at 9:06 in the morning, how Carlos Way, identified as witness 1 in court documents, had parked nearby with Johnson and their 6-month-old child, how the two women got into a verbal argument, how Way tried to intervene but then became physical with Romeca, putting her in a chokehold. Then prosecutors described the critical moment. Johnson walking back to her car, retrieving her gun, and returning to shoot Romeca multiple times. And the detail that would seal the prosecution's argument against self-defense. After shooting Romeca, Johnson and Carlos Way fist bumped. Celebrating in the street after shooting someone is not self-defense, the judge would later state from the bench, cutting through Johnson's claim with stark clarity. The prosecution argued Johnson posed a danger to the community. She had allegedly killed Romeca in broad daylight in front of witnesses near a school. She had shown no remorse. She had remained free for 3 months and could flee if released again. They asked the judge to hold her without bond. What could Johnson's defense attorney say? The defense acknowledged the tragedy but began laying the groundwork for their trial strategy. They would argue self-defense, that Johnson reasonably believed she was in imminent danger. They would point to the protective order Johnson had filed against Romeca, claiming Johnson had documented threats against her before the shooting. They would argue Johnson was legally licensed to carry a firearm and had the right to protect herself, but the judge wasn't buying it. Not yet anyway. The protective order Johnson filed, it had never been served. Romeca was never notified. Johnson had never met Romeca face-to-face before that morning. How could she claim fear of imminent harm from someone she'd never encountered directly? And the sequence of events undercut any claim of split-second decision-making. Johnson walked away from the confrontation. She went to her vehicle. She retrieved a weapon. She walked back. Those actions demonstrate premeditation, not panic self-preservation. The judge ordered Quadajah Johnson held without bond. She would remain in Cook County Jail pending trial. Romeca's family breathed a collective sigh of relief. Finally, someone was being held accountable. Finally, Johnson was behind bars where she couldn't hurt anyone else. McMiller spoke to reporters after the hearing. "I want justice so I can have peace of mind. It won't bring her back, but it will be little peace now. I just feel like a big bundle has been lifted off my head and heart." Johnson's next court date was set for December 23rd, 2024, less than 3 weeks away. That hearing would address pretrial motions, discovery issues, and potentially set a trial date. What legal strategies will Johnson's defense team pursue? They have several options, none of them strong, but all worth attempting if you're facing a first-degree murder charge. Self-defense claim. This is their most obvious argument, but it's full of holes. Illinois self-defense law requires the defendant to reasonably believe they're facing imminent death or great bodily harm. Johnson will have to explain how Romeca, standing with arms crossed while being held in a chokehold by Carlos Way, posed an imminent threat that required lethal force. She'll have to explain why she didn't drive away when she had the opportunity. She'll have to explain the fist bump after the shooting, an action that suggests celebration, not relief. Imperfect self-defense. This is a middle ground argument where the defense acknowledges the killing, but argues the defendant's belief in the need for deadly force was unreasonable but honestly held. It can reduce a first-degree murder charge to voluntary manslaughter, but it's a tough sell when you walk back to your car to get a gun. Provocation or heat of passion. The defense might argue Johnson was provoked by Romeca's words or actions, causing her to act in a heated moment without premeditation. But again, the fact that she left the scene, armed herself, and returned suggests time for reflection, not heat of passion conduct. The prosecution's case seems strong. They have witnesses who saw the entire confrontation. They have evidence of Carlos Way restraining Romeca while Johnson armed herself. They have the fist bump after the shooting. They have Johnson's calm demeanor, showing no remorse or panic that would indicate genuine fear for her life. They also have the protective orders, both the one Johnson filed against Romeca and the one Romeca filed against Carlos Way. These documents show a history of conflict, but also demonstrate that Johnson used the legal system to document alleged threats before the shooting. To prosecutors, that looks like someone building a paper trail to justify future violence. What about Carlos Way? Will he face charges for his role in Romeca's death? So far, no charges have been filed against him. But his actions that morning, allegedly putting Romeca in a chokehold while his girlfriend retrieved a weapon, could potentially support charges of felony murder or conspiracy. If Way's actions facilitated Johnson's ability to kill Romeca, he could be legally culpable even though he didn't pull the trigger. Prosecutors have discretion in whether to charge Way. They may be using him as a witness against Johnson, offering immunity in exchange for his testimony, or they may be building a separate case against him that will be filed later. Romeca's family has made clear they want both Johnson and Way held accountable. To them, Way's role in restraining Romeca makes him equally responsible for her death. He violated his protective order by being there. He physically held Romeca while Johnson armed herself. He celebrated with a fist bump after Romeca was shot. How is that not complicity in murder? These are questions the justice system will have to answer as the case moves forward. The defense will likely file motions to suppress evidence, challenge witness credibility, and request change of venue if media coverage makes finding an impartial jury difficult in Cook County. They may request a competency evaluation if Johnson's pregnancy or mental health becomes an issue. They may seek to have the first-degree murder charge reduced to a lesser offense through plea negotiations. But with a victim's family determined to see justice served, with community pressure demanding accountability, and with video evidence and witness testimony supporting the prosecution's case, Johnson faces an uphill battle. The maximum sentence for first-degree murder in Illinois is life in prison. There is no death penalty in Illinois. It was abolished in 2011. If convicted, Johnson would face decades behind bars, potentially spending the rest of her life incarcerated. Her children, the 6-month-old present at the scene, and the baby she's currently carrying, would grow up without their mother. Just as Romeca's 6-year-old son is growing up without his. 2 families destroyed, multiple children without parents, all over a conflict that could have been resolved 1,000 different ways that didn't involve a gun. Trial is expected to take place sometime in 2025. The exact date hasn't been set, but prosecutors are preparing for a case that will likely take weeks to present. They'll call witnesses who saw the shooting. They'll present forensic evidence and autopsy results. They'll play the cell phone video. They'll argue that Johnson had every opportunity to leave, but chose violence instead. And the defense? They'll have to convince a jury that shooting an unarmed woman multiple times in the face while her ex held her in a chokehold was somehow justified. Good luck with that. As of today, Quadajah Johnson sits in Cook County Jail without bond. She's awaiting trial for first-degree murder. She's pregnant with her second child, a baby who will likely be born while she's incarcerated. What kind of future does that child face? Romeca's son is being raised by his grandmother, Tina McMiller. He's 7 years old now. He started first grade on September 8th, the same day his mother was killed. Every school morning is a reminder of what he lost. Every lunchbox is a reminder that his mother will never write him another encouraging note. McMiller told reporters she's focused on making sure her grandson feels loved and supported, but nothing can replace his mother. Nothing can give him back the woman who called him the coolest, smartest, funniest kid she knew. The family has found some peace in Johnson's arrest, but McMiller was clear. It won't bring her back, but it will be a little peace now. Justice in the courtroom can't undo the tragedy. It can't reverse time. It can only hold someone accountable and hopefully prevent future violence. Romeca's social media post featuring the lunchbox note went viral after her death. Thousands of people shared it, commenting on the heartbreaking irony of a mother's final message to her child. The note has become a symbol of Romeca's love for her son and a reminder of how quickly life can be stolen. Community vigils were held in Romeca's honor in the weeks after her death. Friends, family, and even strangers gathered at the site where she was killed, releasing balloons and sharing memories. The South Loop community was shaken by the violence that occurred in broad daylight near a school, a place that should be safe, where children should be protected from harm. Online petitions demanding justice for Romeca gathered thousands of signatures. People who never knew her felt compelled to act, moved by the senselessness of her death and frustrated by the initial lack of charges against Johnson. The public pressure likely played a role in keeping the case in the spotlight and ensuring investigators continued building their case. Johnson's family has remained largely silent. There have been no public statements defending her actions or expressing remorse for Romeca's death. Carlos Way has also stayed out of the public eye, though he remains a central figure in the case as a key witness. What about Way's role in all of this? He violated Romeca's protective order by being near her that morning. He allegedly put her in a chokehold during the confrontation. He was present when Johnson shot her. And according to prosecutors, he fist-bumped Johnson after Romeca lay dying in the street. Yet he faces no charges. Romeca's family has called for Way to be held accountable. They believe his actions directly contributed to her death and that he should face criminal charges. Whether prosecutors will eventually charge Way remains to be seen. For now, he appears to be cooperating with the investigation as a witness against Johnson. The case has sparked conversations about domestic violence, protective orders, and gun access. Romeca had a protective order against Carlos Way, yet he showed up near her son's school. Johnson had a concealed carry license, yet she used it to kill an unarmed woman in front of witnesses. How do we prevent these scenarios? How do we enforce protective orders more effectively? How do we ensure people in crisis don't have immediate access to firearms? These are complicated questions without easy answers, but Romeca's death has forced people to ask them. Locally, there have been calls for better enforcement of protective orders and for stronger consequences when they're violated. Advocates argue that protective orders are only as effective as the systems in place to enforce them. If someone can violate an order without immediate consequences, what protection does it really provide? There have also been discussions about concealed carry laws and the responsibilities that come with legally carrying a firearm. Having a license doesn't give you the right to shoot someone just because you're in an argument. Self-defense has specific legal requirements, and gun owners need to understand those requirements before they carry a weapon in public. As for Romeca's legacy, her family wants her remembered as a loving mother, a dedicated nursing student, and a woman with dreams for her future. They've shared photos and stories celebrating her life, refusing to let her death define her completely. Romeca's son will grow up knowing his mother loved him deeply. He'll have that note, the one she wrote him on the last morning of her life, as a proof of her love. He'll have memories of her encouragement, her support, her presence, and he'll have a family fighting to make sure the person who took her from him faces justice. The trial is expected to begin in 2025. It will be painful for Romeca's family to sit through, hearing details of her final moments, seeing evidence of her death. But they've made clear they'll be there every day, bearing witness, demanding accountability. What could have been done differently to prevent this tragedy? Should Carlos Way have been arrested for violating the protective order the moment he showed up near Romeca's son's school? Should Johnson have faced immediate charges on September 8th instead of being released for 3 months? Should there have been better communication between the women to resolve their conflict without violence? Let us know in the comments what you think. Questions remain. Could Romeca's death have been prevented? Were there warning signs that were missed? Should the system have intervened earlier when Johnson filed protective orders and made allegations against Romeca? We may never have satisfying answers. Sometimes tragedy unfolds despite everyone's best efforts to prevent it. Sometimes people make choices that can't be undone, and the consequences ripple out to destroy multiple lives. What we know is this. On September 8th, 2024, Romeca Meeks-Blackmon kissed her son goodbye, told him it was a fresh start, and dropped him off at school. Within an hour, she was shot multiple times in the face by a woman she'd never met face-to-face before. The weapon? A legally owned firearm. The motive? Jealousy and conflict over a man. The result? A 6-year-old boy without his mother, a woman facing life in prison, and a community left to grapple with senseless violence. Romeca should be finishing nursing school right now. She should be planning her son's next birthday. She should be writing more encouraging notes and watching him grow up. Instead, she's buried, her dreams unfulfilled, her future stolen. And the hardest question of all, what lesson do we take from a death this preventable? Maybe it's that protective orders need teeth, that violating them should have immediate consequences. Maybe it's that carrying a gun comes with responsibilities that some people aren't prepared to handle. Maybe it's that jealousy and ego are never worth taking a life. Or maybe there's no lesson that makes this okay. Maybe some tragedies are just tragedies, and a promising life ends because people made terrible choices that can never be unmade. The case continues, the trial approaches, and Romeca's absence is felt every single day by the little boy who still has her note, the last words his mother ever wrote to him. Subscribe to Crazy Crime Lures for updates on this case and more true crime stories.